What if I told you that your greatest power isn't out there? It's already inside your mind. What if the way you talk to yourself could literally rewire your brain in just 3 days? This isn't some motivational theory. This is hard science. Your words, your internal dialogue are shaping your neurochemistry every single moment. And with the right approach, the right focus, and the right mind motivation, you can start reshaping your life faster than you ever thought possible. Most people wake up each day stuck in the same cycle, same thoughts, same doubts, same limitations. Not because change is impossible, but because they don't know how to direct the conversation happening inside their own mind. They think motivation is about hype, but real transformation is about building inner leadership. And that starts with how you speak to yourself. In this journey, we won't just talk about thinking better thoughts. We'll master the art of speaking to ourselves with precision, power, and identity. You'll learn how to activate the real mechanics of mind motivation, how to flip the biological switches that control focus, resilience, and action. Are you ready to take command of your mind and start your transformation today? Comment below. I'm ready to lead my mind. Because the most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. The hidden power of mind motivation. The conversation you have with yourself isn't background noise, it's the blueprint your brain uses to build your future. Every time you say, "I can't do this," your brain listens. Every time you say, "You're stronger than this," your brain listens. And based on what it hears, it reshapes itself. Neurons fire. Chemical signals shift. New patterns form. This is not just positive thinking. It's real, measurable neuroplasticity driven by what we call mind motivation. You see, your brain is a prediction machine. It's constantly wiring and rewiring itself based on what you repeatedly think, say, and feel. And the most powerful signal it responds to is your internal dialogue. Scientists have found that changing the way you talk to yourself can activate areas in the prefrontal cortex, responsible for emotional control, decision-making, and future planning. It can lower cortisol, raise dopamine, and physically alter the circuits that govern how you handle stress, challenge, and opportunity. But here's the catch. The brain doesn't respond well to vague, hollow positivity. It craves clarity, precision, evidence. That's why the right kind of self-talk isn't just about telling yourself you're great. It's about coaching yourself with specific, grounded language. It's about speaking to yourself like you would to someone you care about deeply, with encouragement, with clarity, with strength. Mind motivation isn't about feeling good for 5 minutes. It's about building a mind that becomes your greatest ally instead of your worst enemy. It's about deliberately crafting a new internal environment where confidence, focus, and resilience aren't random accidents, they are daily habits, and it all starts with one decision. The decision to stop letting old narratives dictate your future and to start leading yourself from within. Comment below. I choose to coach myself with strength, because once you master the way you speak to yourself, you'll never be at the mercy of circumstance again. The 3 core practices to rewire your brain with mind motivation. True mind motivation doesn't come from temporary inspiration. It comes from building daily habits that reprogram the way you think, feel, and act. And it all starts with 3 foundational practices. These are not theories. They are real science-backed tools that trigger neuroplasticity and turn motivation into lasting transformation. The first practice is speaking to yourself in the second person. It might sound strange, but the way you phrase your internal dialogue matters. Instead of saying, "I hope I can do this," you say, "You can do this. You've handled harder before." This small shift creates psychological distance between you and your fear. It activates parts of the brain responsible for self-regulation and planning, not just emotional reaction. By speaking to yourself like a trusted coach, would you bypass the ego's panic and step into calm, focused leadership? Every time you say, "You are capable," instead of "I hope I am capable," you teach your brain to believe in your own strength as a fact, not a wish. The second practice is anchoring your identity before setting any goals. Most people wake up and tell themselves what they hope to do. I'll try to work out. I'll try to stay focused. But this keeps motivation fragile and dependent on mood. Instead, you start with identity. You are the kind of person who honors your commitments. You are someone who shows up no matter how you feel. When you operate from identity, not just intention, you activate brain regions responsible for meaning, belonging, and long-term behavioral consistency. You don't have to force yourself to act. You act because it's who you are. The third practice is learning to label your negative thoughts without getting trapped by them. When fear or self-doubt surfaces, don't argue with it or try to suppress it. Simply notice it and label it. That's a thought, not a fact. This small but powerful act triggers a shift from limbic reactivity to prefrontal control. You take the energy out of the thought and reclaim your ability to choose your next move consciously instead of reacting unconsciously. These three practices, speaking as a coach, leading with identity, and labeling your thoughts, are the core mechanics of mind motivation. They are how you turn hope into strategy and strategy into change. Comment below. Which of these three practices will you start applying today? Your rewiring begins the moment you choose to lead your mind with precision and power. Why shifting self-talk changes your biochemistry and your life. Most people think the way they talk to themselves is just a mental habit, but neuroscience reveals something much deeper. Your self-talk isn't just affecting your mood, it's altering your body's chemistry, rewiring your brain, and setting the trajectory of your life. Every phrase you repeat internally acts like a signal. It tells your brain which chemicals to release, which circuits to strengthen, and which emotional states to normalize. When you engage in anxious, self-defeating dialogue, phrases like, "I can't handle this," or "this always goes wrong," you flood your system with cortisol and adrenaline, activating the sympathetic nervous system's fight or flight response. Your heart races, your muscles tighten, your mind clouds, decision-making deteriorates. You're not just stressed, you're biologically wired for stress. But the opposite is also true. When you consciously shift your inner dialogue toward calm, focused, empowering language statements like, "You've faced harder challenges," "You know what matters now," or "You are built for this," you activate the prefrontal cortex and stimulate the release of dopamine and GABA. Dopamine fuels motivation, momentum, and reward-seeking behavior. GABA calms the nervous system, reduces unnecessary fear responses, and restores mental clarity. In simple terms, precise and empowering self-talk creates a biological state that makes focus, action, and resilience easier. You don't have to fight yourself. Your biology starts working for you instead of against you. This is why mind motivation is not just a feel-good exercise. It's a physical upgrade. It's the deliberate process of using your words to change your state, not someday, but instantly. And when you repeat this process daily, the effects compound. You train your brain to prefer solutions over panic. You train your body to associate challenge with activation, not shutdown. You condition yourself to move forward even when discomfort or fear shows up. Over time, you build an internal operating system that is calm under pressure, clear in confusion, and relentless in pursuit of what matters most. Think about the power of that. In a world where most people collapse under uncertainty, you could stand grounded. While others react impulsively, you could respond intelligently. Not because you're faking confidence, but because you have literally rewired your biochemistry to support calm, courageous action. And it all starts with a choice, choosing to treat your internal dialogue like the control center of your future, not just background noise. So the next time stress hits or doubt creeps in, remember, your first move isn't to fix the world. Your first move is to fix your words. Because the words you choose will either trigger a biological spiral or biological strength. Comment below. What empowering phrase will you speak to yourself today to shift your biochemistry and reclaim your power? Let's build a mind and a future aligned with strength, clarity, and unstoppable momentum. The 3-day threshold. Why persistence changes your brain. Change doesn't happen because you think about it once. Real transformation begins when you persist through the discomfort of rewiring your brain, especially during the critical first 72 hours. Neuroscience calls this the plasticity cascade. And it's the window where your brain decides, should I start building new pathways or reinforce the old ones? The answer depends entirely on whether you persist long enough to send a clear, powerful message that this new behavior, this new language matters. For the first day, everything might feel exciting. You're motivated, you're speaking to yourself with strength, but by day 2, the old circuits start fighting back. Doubt creeps in. Fatigue sets in. Your brain whispers, this isn't working. Not because it isn't, but because it's trying to conserve energy by pulling you back to familiar habitual patterns. This is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that change is underway. In fact, the discomfort you feel is the very proof that your nervous system is being challenged to adapt. And if you can push through this resistance for 3 consecutive days, just 72 focused hours, you initiate the shift from short-term plasticity to the early stages of structural lasting change. At a biological level, immediate early genes like C-FOS and ARC light up during these first few days, signaling that neurons are preparing to solidify new connections. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor, BDNF. The miracle grow of neural growth starts to increase. Synapses begin to strengthen in the directions you are focusing your energy. You're not just thinking differently, you're becoming different. You are actively building a brain that responds to stress, challenge, and opportunity with a new level of strength and clarity. But here's the key: you must persist through the threshold. If you quit after a day or even after 2, your brain interprets that as a sign that the old patterns are safer, stronger, and more efficient. It reinforces the very behaviors you were trying to change. But if you hold the line, if you keep using precise self-talk, if you stay committed to your identity-based language, if you label your thoughts instead of fusing with them, you win the battle. You cross into a new realm where change stops feeling forced and starts feeling natural. 3 days. That's the first real test. Not a year, not a decade. 72 hours of focused, intentional effort to tip the scales of your own biology in your favor. 72 hours where your mind feels heavy, but your spirit refuses to back down. 72 hours that separate those who wish for change from those who lead themselves into it. So here's your challenge. Declare your 3-day mission right now. Commit to the internal work. Expect resistance and keep going anyway. Comment below. I'm ready to cross the 3-day threshold and rewire my life, because your brain is always changing. The only question is, are you the one directing it? Or are you letting your old patterns decide your future for you? Mastering your internal language, your new identity. Once you cross the 3-day threshold, something powerful begins to happen. Your internal language, once scattered and reactive, starts to feel deliberate, strong, aligned. You are no longer simply reacting to old patterns. You are actively creating new ones. And with every word you choose, you are chiseling a new identity, not a temporary mask, but a deeper, truer version of who you were always meant to become. Mastering your internal language is not just about feeling better in the moment. It's about permanently shifting your identity at the neurological level. When you consistently speak to yourself like a leader with second-person encouragement, with identity-based truth, with precision and clarity, your brain adapts. It starts expecting strength instead of doubt. It prepares for focus instead of fear. Your nervous system learns that challenges are not threats. They are arenas where you thrive, and little by little, you realize something extraordinary. You are no longer trying to act confident. You simply are confident. You are no longer fighting to be disciplined. Discipline has become your nature. This is the true power of mind motivation. Not hype, not temporary energy, but a deep biological alignment between who you are and who you choose to become. But remember, mastery requires consistency. Neuroplasticity is experience-dependent. Every day you reinforce your new language. your new wiring grows stronger. Every day, you let old habits slip back in. Unchecked, the old patterns fight to reassert themselves. This is why your inner work is never finished. It is a daily practice, a daily choice, a daily commitment to leading yourself from within. So here's the truth. The world outside will always throw challenges your way, but the real battle and the real victory happens inside. It happens in the conversations you have when no one is watching. It happens in the words you whisper when things get tough. Comment below, I choose to master my mind motivation every single day. Because the greatest project you will ever work on is yourself, and the blueprint starts with the language you choose to believe. At the end of the day, the greatest transformation you will ever achieve doesn't start with your circumstances, it starts with your conversations. Or the words you speak to yourself shape your biology, your behavior, and ultimately your destiny. Real change demands more than wishful thinking. It demands deliberate daily mastery of your internal dialogue. That is the true meaning of mindset motivation. Not just feeling good for a moment, but forging a mind that leads you with clarity, strength, and precision every single day. You are not a prisoner of your old patterns. You are the architect of your future identity. And it starts with choosing your words with intention, coaching yourself through adversity, and anchoring your actions in truth, not fear. Every thought you choose is a brick. Every word you speak is a tool. Build wisely. Comment below. I commit to building my future with mindset motivation. And if you found value here, make sure to subscribe because every day you invest in your mind. You invest in a life that no obstacle can ever steal from you.